Here's the intro.
Oh, almost forgot about that. Actually, why don't we all come in for these last two games? That's all there is in terms of non-mobile or arcade Frogger games from the 2010s. Why not? Sounds fun enough. Was boring just standing around anyway.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, what do we do? I just thought it'd be cool for you guys to be around while I review these games. Shall I start?
Yeah.
Okay. Frogger 3D was released in September of 2011 exclusively for 3DS. This was the first Frogger game to be released physically since 2006. And as of right now, it was the last game to be released physically. I'll possibly talk more about that later. This was also the only Frogger game I had ever pre-ordered, and it was a 3DS game that never made it to the eShop. But without wasting any more time, let's check it out. In a way I have it set up. If this setup sucks, live with it, I did the best I could. We start the game off by finishing a level in the original game. Alright, that's a way to do it. And just as Frogger is about to hop off the machine, a giant truck comes by and just gun trucks the heck out of that part of town. Frogger makes a heroic decision to jump right in front of it. Then we get to the logo that really wanted us to use the 3D part of the 3DS, but that doesn't quite work as well on camera. Anyway, we'll start things off with the main mode, arcade mode. Yeah, I don't remember the arcade game looking like that. So, if you'd like to see what the goal of the game is, that right there. Do that 2 more times in the level, and that's the whole game. There actually is a story here, if you use that term extremely loosely. But given that it barely exists here, that's probably why they just called it arcade mode. The first world of the game only has 6 levels, but something like that is to be expected for the first world. As you can imagine, the first world isn't too hard. It's just showing you the basics of the game. All you use during gameplay is the D-pad. No super hop, no upward hop, not even a tongue move. I guess they just wanted it to feel like the arcade original, in terms of controls. You do auto hop when you hold down one of the buttons, and this is Frogger's top speed. No faster than this, even if you're fast with the D-pad. There are also no flies for extra points. You only have 3 lives altogether, so if you lose those, it's game over. You can collect these coins, which I'll explain over time what they do. So, with the lack of moves and all that I explained, this game sounds quite boring, doesn't it? Well, when describing it that way, then yes, it sounds boring. But they have a lot here to make it interesting. One way they change things up is by having these giant frog friends. This world introduces Iron Frog. Its special ability is being able to block cars and certain types of objects and hazards. Plus, like the rest of the frog friends, it takes up 4 surrounding panels on the Frogger grid. This is both a blessing and, in some ways, a curse. One thing they did bring back to the series is a boss battle. The first boss here is the giant truck that we saw in the opening. What you have to do is pop 4 of the tires with this spiky thing that Frogger can move around. Of course, you'll have to dodge the truck in the process, as well as other vehicles. You'll have to pay attention to when it moves and where it moves too. After defeating it, you climb into the trailer and get to the goal. A short cutscene plays, showing Frogger eating this orb thing, and now he can go between dimensions. Sure, why not? In the next world, we're introduced to another friend called, I kid you not, Vor Frog. If you want to know more about it, you can look it up on Pornhub and watch all the sexy videos. Nah, it just eats stuff like fruits or whatever these are. This helps Frogger get by quicker, but the catch is it automatically heads for the food. So that does some harm in future levels. We're also introduced to Big Frog. It's similar to Iron Frog, except this one squishes little enemies like these snakes. You can also find it on porn. This level also has an alternate goal in it. There's a point where you'll see these split pathways. Well, similar to some Mario games, if you complete a level by reaching the alternate goal, you can get some bonus levels. It's a neat way to come back to the level. For these alternate levels, you only have to reach the alternate goal once. Something you may have noticed is that these levels are kinda small. Like, not that Frogger has been known for massive levels or anything. I mean, heck, the original game was all on one screen. But these levels really aren't that big. To make up for this, Some of these levels can be quite a challenge, like having to climb up this building while avoiding these falling metal pillars. This game is also pretty brutal with how Frogger can die. He doesn't get quite as mutilated as he does in the PS1 games, but the thought of these rats eating him slowly is pretty brutal. Plus, Frogger has blood. It's green blood, so he can still have the E rating, but still. This was the first Frogger game to have animated blood be one of the reasons for the rating. While it's still E for everyone here, it's actually got a 7 from Peggy. Usually the games get a 3 rating over there, but I guess this one was a bit too violent for a 3. Anyway, the boss for this level is this random eagle, who I thought was just a random hazard for the longest time. All you have to do here is reach the goal while avoiding these signs and traffic lights. That's a bit harder than it sounds. The next world is a casino world. Honestly, holding the 3DS like this while looking through my Galaxy S22 to play the game made it a bit more challenging. So I switched to my save where I already beat the game so I could show off these levels more quickly. I have a couple of things unlocked where I can play the game with infinite lives and infinite time. Those are the big things to collect the coins for. Anyway, the casino levels are kind of luck based, at least some are, but most of these are like the other levels. I've come to realize something recently. I realized a lot of these levels, while still having Frogger-like gameplay, are basically puzzles. While all you're doing is just reaching the goals, you're having to figure out the best way to get to them with limited lives. Explaining it like that makes a lot of non-puzzle games sound like puzzle games. But if you play the game, you'll understand what I mean. The boss for this level is a giant roulette wheel where you have to ride on Vorfrog to eat the cherries while avoiding these balls and the purple berries. Not really a hard boss. The next world is a military base. Yeah, you know, Metal Gear Frogger, of course.
Metal Gear Frogger?
Bet you never thought you'd see Frogger in a military base with tanks and such. One that's been officially released, of course. This is the world that introduces Luminous Frog. It just shines a light for you, at least in this level. Given that this game has all these tanks, grenades, feasting rats, and, as the boss for this world, attack helicopters, I can see why this game got a 7 from Peggy. Heck, I'm kinda surprised it didn't get an E10 Plus rating over here. This game seems more violent than some E10 Plus games that have come out. The next world is in the Far East. These levels can be pretty hard. The one with the freaking sliding doors and rolling things is pretty challenging. I do kinda like the level where you have to hop as Iron Frog at the right times. While a lot of these levels have been very Asian themed, the last level before the boss has these lava lizard creatures. I guess that's still Asian themed, but it just comes out of nowhere. This leads into the boss, which is a giant lava lizard. You have to get it to chew on these hot rocks. Now we've reached the final world of the game, the Pseudo Dimension. This takes everything from the other worlds and mixes it all together and just does whatever it wants to with them. Like having to ride these cars across this space river and having to avoid the logs and turtles. These are the hardest levels in the game for sure. Now, if there are certain levels you just can't get past, that's another place for the coins to come in. If you have enough, you can skip levels. It's not quite pay to win, as there is no option for spending real world money, which is good for the kiddies. But if you grind enough coins, you can skip the levels you don't like. That's how I originally got past this stupid freaking 15 puzzle level. But before I get to the end of the game, I want to talk a little bit about the music. It's pretty good overall, though I would have liked to hear more of it. Each world usually only has one track and one of the 3 boss themes. But while the soundtrack doesn't have that much, it is still good. The sound effects are fine, just a little generic. Anyway, the final boss of the game is this giant pixelated frog. You have to defeat it by using all of Frogger's giant friends and their powers. You have to do all this while avoiding its attacks that turn you into classic Frogger. This is symbolic. It means you can't just let the past consume you. While you can appreciate the past, you can't just keep living there. You have to move forward with your life and enjoy what's to come. Or it just means you lose a life here. After defeating the final boss, you unlock a new world? What could this brand new world be? It's just the same set of levels, just sped up. No joke, that's all the next few worlds are. I guess that's a way to extend the playtime. Kinda seems cheap though, don't you think? Well, if you want to take a break from arcade mode, you can play Forever Crossing. Basically, it takes the original arcade game and takes out the goals and replaces it with an infinite number of roads and rivers. This came out around the time the endless runner craze was getting big for mobile games. So it made sense to have it here, and it can be a fun break from the regular game. And if you've beaten everything in arcade mode, you unlock challenge mode. This is just taking the regular levels and giving you an extremely short amount of time to beat them. You can collect these clocks to extend the time, but it's basically just time attack with the same levels. I'm not a big fan of time attack modes in non-racing games. There's also a multiplayer mode, which I have yet to play as of this video since I know pretty much no one else who has this game. Obviously it sold more than one copy, but I don't know anyone personally who has this game. Outside of some gameplay modes, you can look at some concept art, so that's neat. And that was Frogger 3D for 3DS. It's overall a decent game. This was once my favorite Frogger game. For a very short while. I think I was just excited to have a new Frogger game at the time. But now, I'd say it's on the lower end of my top 10 Frogger games. Now of course that doesn't mean it's bad at all, it's just not as good as I once thought. It's still a fun game overall, just a challenging one. If you're a Frogger fan, you'll enjoy this game. The price has stayed relatively the same over the years. When it first came out it was $30, which was about $10 cheaper than most 3DS games at the time. So you may find it for $30 or less at this point in time. Anyway, I'd recommend it. So that's that one down. Wonder why there really wasn't that many of these in the 2010s. Guess there wasn't really a high demand for Frogger around that time. Seems like a waste of a great franchise.
Yeah, even if not all the games were good, it's still a good franchise overall.
So I agree with you all, but we still have one game left. Oh, well, carry on then. Thank you. Without further delay, let's get to it. Frogger Hyper Arcade Edition was released in July of 2012 on Xbox 360, PS3, Wii, and mobile phones. It came out digital only with no PC release, so that's going to be fun to try and hang on to. Anyway, I wanted to play the game on the 360 as it is the best way to play the game. The Wii version is no longer around, but was also a neutered version of the game, and the PS3 version, well, I'll get to that. So I wanted to play the 360 version. But due to the recent events with the Xbox 360 games, I can't do that. Look it up to see what I mean, assuming you're watching this before they fixed it, hopefully. So instead of having an HD picture, I'm going to have to go with the PS3 version, using composite cables cause setting up the HD to capture PS3 games is a pain. But anyway, let's get to the game. Ah, just when I thought my ears were safe. Yeah, this music. At least the start of it. Also, the screen is not meant to be stretched like this. I set the display to be 16 by 9 and it still does this. I freaking love technology, man. Anyway, this game is basically a party game overall. There are many different modes, but of course I'll be starting out with Classic Frogger. This is one mode where you can actually change the way it looks, such as 8-bit, Next Gen, Hyper, DDR, Castlevania, Contra. Yeah, I know, it's Konami. Let's go with 8-bit for now. When they say 8-bit, well, you see. It's set up like the old arcade game, but you may notice some additional things here. Since this is widescreen, they added 2 extra goals per level. So now to beat a level, you have to reach 7 goals. It seems like it would be harder that way, but you have all this extra space, so it's all good. Frogger hops around just fine in this game. For the most part, but I'll get to the PS3 problems later. Other than having 2 additional slots to fill up and the screen being tilted, this is pretty much regular 1981 Frogger. As for the other modes, let's take a look at them. Tile Capture is where you and up to 3 other players, or CPUs, can hop around the map creating tiles. Once you reach one of the goals, you lock the tiles down and they can't be marked over. But if you die, they unlock and can be painted over again. Whoever gets the most goals and has the most tiles wins. It can be pretty chaotic and fun. And like you'll see in other modes with multiplayer, there are also these power-ups. There are a few, like freezing all the players or reversing the controls. Battle Royale is where you're thrown into a map with many other players and you just grab all the power-ups you can and try and kill all the other players or CPUs. Another chaotic and fun mode. Lady Frog Rescue is about what you'd expect, I think. The high score is more focused on you collecting up to 3 pink frogs before reaching the goals before the opponents do. Chaotic and fun like the others. The next mode, Paint, is 1 player only. So there's content here for single players. Anyway, what you do is fill in the tiles for 8-bit art, like old Frogger himself. You do this while, of course, dodging vehicles. It's fine and can be somewhat relaxing in some way. Twin Frogger, I'm not a big fan of. I mean, it's an interesting idea, having to get two frogs across at the same time. The challenge comes in with the fact that the frogs are far apart from each other. And if one dies, they both die. So you have to really watch your hops. It's just not that fun for me, but it's not the worst. After that, And now allow me to mention, this is a problem exclusive to the PS3 version. For whatever reason, at least in my experience, the game crashes after a while when playing this version. I never had this problem when playing the XBLA version, nor the WiiWare version, just on PS3. I have no clue why it happens and why they never fixed it. Oh right, because it's Konami and they don't seem to give much of a turd for Frogger. Other than re-releasing the arcade game, making mobile and casino games. But before I talk about the other problems, I'll talk about the other two modes. Frogger Freakout has you reaching a certain number of points per level, and with each level it's randomized with different modes and skins. It can be pretty fun. And the last mode is Challenge Mode. There are 20 of these and you complete, well, various challenges. You only have one life, but these challenges don't take that long to complete, or lose. I was gonna try and complete them all, but then the game crashed again. After beating some challenges, you unlock these little mini-movies called Frogger in Love. They are just cute little animations of 8-bit Frogger trying to reach the pink frog he loves. And that's about all I have to say about Frogger Hyper Arcade Edition. It's overall a pretty fun game that would be great for parties, especially Frogger fans. So, I would highly recommend it. On Xbox 360. On PS3, you have the terrible crashing problem, but that's not all. There are a lot of moments where if something spawns in, the game freezes for half a second, which can really throw you off. Also, if you're playing the game with the next-gen graphics in certain modes, the frame rate gets pretty bad. It's obvious they either had a hard time getting this to run on PS3, or they just didn't care. Probably a mix of the two. Now, as for the WiiWare version, it's mostly the same game, except not in HD or widescreen. So when playing the game, it has the standard 5 goals. In terms of gameplay, it's perfectly fine. Controls well enough and has no major bugs or glitches. And all the modes are here, so why wouldn't I recommend this more? Well, other than the Wii Shop shutting down to where you can't make purchases, as I said earlier, it's a neutered version of the game. It's missing some features, such as the mini-movies, and while the HD version had 11 tracks, technically more if you count Contra and I think Castlevania, this one only has 3. Or possibly 4 or 5. Either way, you'll be hearing the same 3 tracks over and over with this one. Not saying only 11 tracks won't get repetitive, but good lord. But does all that mean these versions are bad? Well, no. The PS3 one's problems might be pretty annoying, but it's still pretty fun when it works. And the WiiWare version might have less extra features, but most of the game is still there and plays fine enough. So while I would recommend this game on Xbox the most, the PlayStation and Nintendo versions are perfectly fine if one of those are your only options. As for the mobile version, let's not worry about that. So with all that said, I would still recommend this game overall. And that was it for the games.
Well, that wasn't a bad game to end on.
Seems like a pretty fun multiplayer game for parties. I could see myself playing that with some friends. Heck, I'd play it here with you guys. Well, I wish a lot of people thought like you guys. I suppose this is...
What is it, Dan?
It's one of those notes that James kept leaving me. It says for me to talk about the rest of the franchise. You up for that, Donnie? I could give it a try. We've come this far, why not finish up with a little more background on Frogger?
Yeah,
a little more.
let's
You can go ahead and do it. Well then, here we go. While I've covered every single home console and handheld Frogger game, along with the old cartoon, there's still more to talk about. I won't be showing any gameplay footage, but I will briefly mention the mobile games. In 2003, there was a phone version of the original Frogger. In 2005, there was a phone game called Frogger Puzzle, where players would arrange blocks to clear a path for Frogger to get past the road. In 2006, there was Frogger Evolution, where from what I could gather, it was basically just a remix version of the old arcade game with a couple of different modes. There's a little more to it than that, but those are the basics. In 2007, there was Frogger Launch, which is one of those catapult games. I didn't get much of a description from that, but I can imagine how it played. Also in 2007, we got Frogger Hop Trivia, which has the Great Quest Frogger, for some reason. I thought it was going to be a trivia game featuring Frogger characters, but it apparently played like other Frogger games. Not much info other than that. In 2008, there was Frogger Beats and Bounces, which is a rhythm game. What threw me off about this one was it actually has a story to it, even more so than Frogger 3D. Look it up for more details, but the basics are that Frogger has some illness that makes him hop to a mysterious beat. That would have been interesting to see. In 2010, iPhone users got Frogger Inferno, which plays similar to other Frogger games, but with a twist. Whenever Frogger hops, he leaves behind a trail of fire, and if that fire touches Frogger, it burns. So no backtracking, basically. Also in 2010, we got Frogger for Windows Phone. Moving on. In 2012, there was Frogger Free. I got zero info on this one, but from what it sounds like, it's probably just a free mobile version of the arcade game. In 2013, there was Frogger's Crackout. Kind of a weird name, but it's basically Frogger in name only. It's just an interesting version of Breakout with a Frogger-ish theme to it. In 2019, there was Frogger in Toy Town, which is currently exclusive to Apple Arcade. It plays like a regular Frogger game, but, well, you know, unique twists. You rescue little froglets and can fire balls at enemies? That sounds awesome, why does it have to be exclusive to Apple Arcade? Anyway, in 2022, there was Frogger in the Rumbling Ruins, which is also exclusive to Apple Arcade. This one has more puzzle elements to it. And that's it for the mobile games, at least for now. Some of these I don't mind staying mobile, but there's a lot of these that should have also come to console, like Hyper Arcade Edition did. It's not fair! As for the other stuff, in 1981, obviously after the original game, there was a Frogger board game. I have heard more about it in recent years, but I don't really remember how it plays. In 2017, there was a casino game called Frogger Get Hoppin'. It's a mix between a roulette wheel and the regular Frogger gameplay. In 2021, to celebrate Frogger's 40th anniversary, there was a game. Show. The fastest way to describe it is Wipeout with a Frogger theme. Contestants have to make it across different obstacle courses without falling in the water. If they fall 3 times, they're out. So whoever makes it farthest to the goal in the shortest amount of time wins. The last round has the winners of the previous courses compete to win the cash prize. They must collect each of the 5 froglets before the time runs out, and if they fall in the water even once, they lose. As of this video, I have yet to watch all the episodes, but I have watched the first few. I've even chatted with some of the contestants of the show, and they seem to have enjoyed it. Most of them didn't even know there were sequels to Frogger, but that show was more meant for people who exercise more and not for people with all the game knowledge. One of the contestants, Zoe Kahn, I actually watched her stream the original arcade game on Twitch before watching the episode she was in. That's actually how I found out about her being on the show in the first place. She revealed some behind the scenes stuff about the show. Like how, even though the episode made it look like she was the first to go in the last challenge, she was actually the last to go. She could explain it more, but basically it probably has to do with the show's runtime and whatnot. You should go check her Twitch out, if you like Call of Duty Warzone mostly. And no, she didn't ask me to mention that, I just did it out of the kindness of my heart. Now, what was I talking about again? Oh right, Frogger. I thought the game show was fine, but it's not really for me. I'm just not really into game shows, but if you like shows like Wipeout, then you should enjoy this one as well. As of this video, there's yet to be an announcement for a second season, so we'll see what happens. It's currently watchable on Peacock. And one more thing to mention is, there is supposed to be a new Frogger game coming to the Intellivision Amico. If that system ever comes out, I guess we'll see how that goes. And that's all there is to say about Frogger for now. I've covered as much as I could, and I hope to see more in the future. By more, I mean I hope more console games come out. Please, Konami! Anyway, that's it for now. Well, that's everything Frogger, as of 2023. Well, more like as of 2022, but you know what I mean. So, what happens now?
Well done indeed, Daniel. You've talked about everything in the Frogger franchise, more or less everything. Well, this will make one fine 100th review video.
You know, that was
great.
pretty good.
Review
It
videos.
was enjoyable enough.
Well, thanks everyone.
So, do we go back to our homes now?
Home? You are home now.
Come again?
You're right where you need to be, and you're not going to go anywhere else. You are my prisoners.
Dude, what the?
Like hell we
No
are.
one keeps me or my
Bloody
pals
pig
as prisoners.
sauce, I'm staying here.
I'm ready to fight you whenever.
Look at your freaking faces. Oh, how serious you look. Of course I'm not going to keep you here. Well, you can leave anytime you want, buddy.
Kind of threw us all off with that one.
Weird time to joke around.
Well, it was kind of funny. Before we leave, guys, I have a cheesy speech to make. I've got time, right?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to thank you all for joining me for this and for all my review videos over the years. It's been kinda crazy and inconsistent, but I'm glad I had characters like you all to make things interesting and fun for me. Well, I know you were only in the opening of the Dang It Show and yet another review show, Sonic, but I hear ya. Okay. So, it's with a heavy heart that I say I'm retiring from doing review videos, or at the very least taking a long break. Not to kill the mood, but we kind of already knew that. Oh. Well, thanks again for being part of this long journey, guys. Take care of that virtual world along with show, get?
Got it. Until you eventually wake up.
What?
Nothing. See you, Dan.
Alright. Well, Sonic, you keep up the good work in your world.
Same to you, Danny.
Pep, tell your pals I said hey, and let them know I still have ideas for more videos of you guys.
Will do, Danny.
And Untitled, I'm still coming up with ideas for you. Thanks for sticking with me all these years, even though I haven't had that many videos of you. It's all good, Danny. I don't mind hanging around in the background waiting for my moment. You're a good sport, man. Yep, you're writing this for me, so I'm just saying what I have to say. Take it easy, Danny. Well, James, I think we're ready to get going.
Alright then. Okay, everybody make a T-pose so I can teleport you all home. With the exception for you, kid. I can still send you home anyway. Well, there's no questions. Goodbye, everybody. My last line of the video, good freaking God. It's just could not say anything worth crap. It's just stuttering
here, saying something weird there. I sound like a mental case here. It's harder than you realize.
The line is the mic is still going.
That doesn't happen to you every day. Well, if that's that, I guess there's only one thing left to do. Looks like I'm gonna have to let you go, little fella. Thanks for a great start to my review videos. Go. Be free. Huh. Hey everyone. I'm about to end things, but I just wanted to say thanks for watching this video, and thanks for watching all my videos and getting me this far on here. Which admittedly, compared to others, isn't that far, but I still greatly appreciate it. This is way farther than I thought I'd ever go with this stuff. Ever go on this channel or anything like that, so yeah. I just appreciate you all. And I'm sure some of you are disappointing that I'm ending things, or at the very least taking a very long break from reviewing stuff. But I appreciate you all for, again, getting me this far. The fact that I even reached as many subscribers as I have is, I didn't expect it. I genuinely didn't even expect to get 100, let alone almost 300 as of this video, but that's thanks to you all, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, thanks for watching my 100th review video, 100th official. Bit of a complicated pass, but it's the 100th official video. Anyway, yeah, so genuinely, thank you. But if this is your first time watching a video like this, you may not see a review video for a while. A new one, I mean, if at all. But I hope you like this video and subscribe if you want to see more of my videos in general. But check out my other stuff if you haven't already. But anyway, thanks everyone.
The skies ahead are vast and clear. I hold my breath, step up a gear, feel the wind, smell the air. Chances are everywhere. Our sights are set beyond the moon. Let's show the world what we can do. Dreams are big, eyes are wide. Hear the voice deep inside. Obstacles are no excuse. Come what may, there's nothing to lose. Turbulence won't stop
Ribbit.